Hey folks, my name is Lachlan, and I'm a working class white South African. This is not a video I ever expected to make, but given that my channel has recently experienced an increase in the amount of attention I've been getting, I feel I have a responsibility to address this. Last week, I made a response video to a prominent South African podcaster and influencer who goes by the name Penwell the Black Pen. I strongly disagreed with his stance towards white South Africans and his policies for South Africa's economic future and land reform. Because of this, I got a great deal of hatred and animosity from black South Africans in the comment section of that video. So there is something I want to clarify, and in order to do that, I'm going to tell you about myself and my family. Right now, I am almost 35 years old. I will turn 35 this coming August. I do not own the property I live on. I don't own the house that I'm talking to you from right now. This house belongs to my cousin, who I live with. He is my primary caregiver because I was born with a severe physical disability that forces me to use a wheelchair every day of my life. I have never owned land, and if things continue to go the way they are going, I probably will never have enough money to buy land. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about my family. My mother came from a working class environment and spent most of her life as a receptionist and a personal assistant, often working for and sometimes even under non-white South Africans. My father worked in the construction industry, building many projects that directly benefit black South Africans. In fact, one of the last projects he worked on before he retired was a hospital near KwaMashu, which directly services that community. I rely on the monthly disability grant. I also rely on a small monthly payment from my parents, who, as I say, are both now retired. And then to supplement my income, I receive a small amount of money from international supporters who enjoy the content I make and support me on Patreon. I explain all of this to make you understand that I, as a white South African, was not born into privilege. I do not feel as though I am entitled to own land. And this is actually a comment I pinned to the top of a previous video, but I thought it was worth explaining it in greater detail in a video of its own. If, for example, now to be clear, this is a hypothetical situation, it will never happen. But if, for example, a billionaire showed up at the house here and said, "Okay, Lachlan, I like you, so I'm going to give you a farm," I would say to that billionaire, "No, don't give me a farm. I don't have the skills, the knowledge, or the resources to properly or adequately manage any kind of large-scale agricultural project." What black South Africans seem not to understand about my objection to the proposed land expropriation policy as facilitated by the ANC's new Land Expropriation Act is that it's not about me wanting white people to hold on to the land. I want competent people to be farming South Africa's land, regardless of what race they are. I do not care if the majority of farmers in South Africa over time are black people. What matters here is competence, not skin color. Because although many black South Africans seem to have a very emotional attachment to land, and understandably so, because of what was done under apartheid, what you need to understand is that if the government simply seizes land and gives it to people that they deem deserving based on skin color, then everyone will starve, including black people. And I'm sorry to tell you, but if you honestly believe that after 30 years of mismanagement, incompetence, and corruption, that the ANC is suddenly going to have your best interests at heart as an average black citizen of South Africa, then you have been lied to and you have been fooled. They do not care about you. It doesn't matter that you are black and they are black. They don't see you as the same value as them. The only thing politicians care about is their own wealth and the comfort and happiness of those in their families and friendship groups. They don't care if your families starve to death in the gutter. Why do I say this? Well, because when the ANC and Ramaphosa in particular were talking about the proposed VAT increase, the first thing, or at least one of the very first things that Ramaphosa said to justify this proposed increase was to pay for the salaries of public servants, also known as politicians. South Africa has some of the most highly paid politicians in the world. We also have one of the largest cabinets in the world. These people live like royalty. On the subject of royalty, if you want to be angry about land ownership in South Africa as a black person, you should take up your grievance with organizations like the Ngoyama Trust, which is under the sole direction of the king of the Zulu royal family. You can look at this for yourself, but the people who the king is supposed to be sharing those massive amounts of land with have been complaining for years that he is not properly administrating the land and that he is mistreating them. There have been several court cases raised against the Ngoyama Trust and the Zulu King on the basis that he is unfairly hoarding that land from his own subjects. I say again, I do not care what race of South Africans holds the land and works it, so long as they are competent and they know what they are doing. Because if we have idiots in charge, everyone will starve, and it won't matter what color your skin is. I hope that this clarifies my position for you. Look after yourselves, take care of each other, and for now, farewell.